What if I told you that the scariest movie ever made wasn't fiction? In 1949, an 11-year-old child became the battlefield between heaven and hell. His chilling screams rang out through hospitals. His body showed marks of the devil, and his story terrified even the most hardened priests. Tonight, we reveal the horrifying details of the exorcism that shocked America. A grieving boy, a Ouija board that opened a door, a demon that refused to leave. This is the real story behind the Exorcist movie. I will also teach you a ritual of protection used by exorcists to guard against unseen forces, because some doors, once opened, can never be closed. Welcome, seekers of secrets, spells and shadows. I'm Victoria Unikel, artist and media mogul by day, and modern witch exorcista by night. Every Thursday, we explore the haunted, the cursed, and the supernatural. If you are ready for terrifying truth and forbidden rituals, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Let's begin. Our story begins in the late 1940s in a quiet neighborhood in Maryland. 11-year-old Robert Mannheim was an only child, quiet, intelligent, and deeply attached to his aunt Harriet. Harriet was a spiritualist fascinated by the occult and introduced Robert to the Ouija board. Together, they sat for hours asking questions, waiting for answers from the beyond. Then, in January 1949, Aunt Harriet died suddenly, and something changed in Robert's home. It started small, scratching noises behind the walls like rats crawling in the dark, objects moving on their own, books flying off shelves, furniture shifting overnight, a faint tapping like fingernails against wood. Robert's personality darkened. He became withdrawn, his once shy demeanor replaced by fits of rage. He spoke in guttural voices that were not his own. At first, his parents dismissed it as grief, but then it got worse. At night, he thrashed in bed. His body was covered in scratches that appeared out of nowhere, markings that seemed to form words. His family turned to their Lutheran minister for help. Reverend Schultz saw it for himself. Objects moved, and the boy spoke in a language he couldn't have known. "There is something inside him," Schultz whispered to Robert's mother. "Something evil." The minister told them to get help from the Catholic Church. Father Edward Hughes, a Catholic priest, agreed to perform an exorcism on Robert at Georgetown University Hospital. The boy was strapped to the bed, his small body fighting against the restraints. Sweat covered his skin, and his breathing was rough and shallow. The air in the room was heavy and stale, like an invisible force tightening around their chests. The temperature changed rapidly. One moment hot, the next icy cold. Shadows crawled along the walls, moving unnaturally in the flickering candlelight. Father Hughes held up a crucifix and began the ritual, his voice firm but uneasy. The moment the prayer began, Robert's body convulsed. His head snapped back violently, his lips curling into a grotesque grin. A low, rumbling growl rose from deep within his chest, inhuman, primal. The smell of sulfur filled the air. Then came the words spat out between clenched teeth. Saint Louis. Father Hughes hesitated. A gust of wind made the candles flicker. He could see his own breath, white and wispy, hanging in the air. A deep, guttural laugh escaped Robert's lips, a sound that didn't belong. The priest shuddered. "Who are you?" he asked. Robert's body twisted unnaturally, bones cracking as if something inside him was moving, breaking. His smile widened. His eyes rolled back and only the whites were seen. The bed shook violently, the wooden frame groaning from distress. "Saint Louis," he repeated in a voice like 2 or 3 people were speaking at once. Then, without warning, the boy let out a terrible scream. The restraint snapped with a sharp crack, sending metal pieces flying. He lunged forward unnaturally fast, his fingers curled like claws. A sharp, metallic glint, then blood. Father Hughes staggered back, gripping his bleeding arm. Robert had slashed him with a jagged bed spring, laughing like mad. The priest gasped, stumbling for the door as Robert's body lifted off the bed, then slammed back down with eerie force. The exorcism was abandoned. The room fell into a suffocating silence, the only sound Robert's shallow, raspy breathing. His eyes flicked toward the priest, lips parting just enough to whisper, "Too late." The family, terrified and desperate, traveled to St. Louis to seek the help of a Jesuit exorcist. Fathers William Bowdern, Raymond Bishop, and Walter Halloran took over the case. The exorcism lasted weeks. They documented everything. The bed shook violently, as if lifted by unseen hands. Deep scratches appeared on Robert's chest, forming words like hell and evil. Holy water burned his skin. His voice changed, sometimes childlike, sometimes guttural, sometimes speaking in Latin, a language he had never learned. The priests pressed on. At times, a sulfuric stench filled the air. The room would grow hot, then cold in a matter of seconds. Then, on April 18, 1949, something changed. Robert convulsed, screaming in agony. A guttural voice came from inside him, its rage shaking the walls of the room. A final cry split the air, a deafening, inhuman wail. And then, silence. Robert opened his eyes. His body relaxed. "It's over," Father Bowdern whispered. The boy sat up. He smiled, and for the first time in months, he spoke in his own voice. "I'm free." The exorcism of Robert Mannheim remains one of the most well-documented cases in history. This case would inspire The Exorcist, a novel and later a movie that would terrify the world. But Robert's story was real, and it wasn't the only one. The Loudon possessions, 1634, France. A convent of nuns claimed to be possessed by demons, leading to one of the most infamous mass exorcisms in history. The Smile Haunting, 1974, Pennsylvania. A family haunted by a persistent spirit that resisted every exorcism. The Ammons case, 2011, Indiana. A mother and her children were reportedly attacked by a demon. Their case documented in official police reports. Exorcisms are still performed today, but one thing remains true. Those who see a possessed victim never forget it. This ritual is used to shield yourself from negative forces. It has been adapted from traditional exorcist protection rites. What you'll need: a white candle for purity and light, a bowl of holy water or salt water to cleanse energy, frankincense smoke stick to ward off evil spirits, a cross or protective amulet, a piece of silver, an ancient word against evil. Step 1. Light the candle and let the incense burn. Step 2. Dip your fingers into the holy water and touch your forehead. Say, I stand in light, no darkness may touch me. Step 3. Hold the silver in one hand and the cross or amulet in the other. Say, I am protected, no evil may enter. I walk in the power of the divine. Step 4. Walk through your home, allowing the incense smoke to cleanse every room. Let the candle burn down safely, then bury the silver outside your home for protection. Darkness exists, but so does light. This ritual is not just about exorcism, it's about reclaiming your power. Have you ever experienced an energy you couldn't explain? Have you ever felt something unseen watching you? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you perform this ritual, let me know. Did you feel its power? Subscribe, my darlings, and join me next week for another terrifying story. Until then, stay safe, stay aware, and never open doors you cannot close. Mwah.